Teo Gegenhardt is up for this. Andreas Kron is the next to go, along with Lorenzo Rota and Teo Gegenhardt. Rota just dipping inside Andreas Kron and trying to work his way across to Jack Haig, who looks like he's going well today. He looks back to his teammates, Santi Buitrago and others, and Tadej Pogacar's going from the back. He's going right the way from the back. Talk about PlayStation cycling. This is brilliant to watch. He is enjoying himself, Brian. I think he's going to go over the top. He is. Watch this. Have this. This is genius. This is not so much racing tactics. He's just having fun on his bike. Wow.
This is like schoolboy racing. Just go there and give it everything. Kid on, you're at the back, and attack again. This is incredible. But Mas was up for that as well there. But I thought he was looking behind, maybe get Wellens up there. He was doing a little bit too much. He was jumping after everything, and they'll soon be on Sivakov.
Well, Mas was man to it. Mas was ready. And as soon as Tadej Pogacar goes, he goes with him. We're not really focusing on Pavel Sivakov now. We're focusing on this, which is absolutely brilliant. Raw racing. And I would rather watch this than any other kind of racing out there. There's poor old Sivakov. And he's about to get a bit of a shock because this is what Tadej Pogacar said about stage 2 when he was attacked by Mikel Landa. He said, well, I wasn't intending to attack, but they attacked me and I had no choice to go with it. And once again, they've stoked his fire today, and he's happy to pile the coals on. That was a wonderful layback attack right the way to the back of the grid. They must have known that was going to happen. Enric Mas certainly did, Brian. And we've got, well, arguably two of the strongest riders going clear. Can Sivakov hang on?
It's going to be difficult, but he's going to try everything he can. But Mas, looking to try and move up into the top 3. He needs just over a minute to manage that. And, we saw Bahrain victorious. What were they doing before today? They were riding, they're helping UAE, Team Emirates, and look at them now. Look at what's happened. They're all over the place, and they can't chase these two back. So it's a case now of Mas. Pogacar's going to ride. He wants to win the stage. Mas is going to ride because he wants to get into the top 3. It was disappointing that he had that mechanical a couple of days ago. Otherwise, I think he would have been sitting in, I think, second place. But he wants something from the day, and he's going to work with Pogacar. A lot of waving behind. You do not do that. You do not wave behind, because it signals to everybody we're in trouble.
Yep. I'm not sure they've caught Sivakov yet either, so there was a reason there for them to sit on. Sivakov is going back to that group, but he had the two Ineos Grenadiers riders, Rodriguez and Teo Gegenhardt, just sitting there. And I think they were shaking their heads as if, which is a good reason to say, no, we've got Sivakov there, we're going to wait. They won't be able to use that excuse soon, though, because I think Sivakov is going to go back into that group, and I suspect might go all the way through it as well. That's Teo Gegenhardt there. I don't know where Sivakov is right now. These two are going to rip to the finish at this stage. They're just about to start the long descent. I can't see them being caught, Brian, particularly not while the likes of Santi Buitrago, and we've got Landa now on the front. And you're right, absolutely bizarre tactics today by a team who had so many riders there in Bahrain victorious.
Yeah, you wanted to, there's nothing you can do against Pogacar. He is quality, head and shoulders above everybody else at the start of the year. But at least try and distance his team by putting one rider in the front to help chase. Meant that George Bennett was able to kind of save himself a little bit. He got deeper into the stage. They would have had to only Tim Wellens in the last part. That might have made a bit of a difference. But it's all ifs and buts at the moment. But now, I think this year with Valencia and here, it seems to be Bahrain victorious, and Ineos seem to be kind of fighting each other. Maybe it's because they're in similar kits, I don't know, but they seem to be battling each other, which is very, very strange. And they're letting races happen in front of them. Just do your tactics, forget about anybody else. Now they have to combine together, because if Mas gets round about 1 minute or even 55 seconds, then he could be popping into third place. It doesn't look as if they are, but yeah, it's still putting pressure on the race. And I don't think, just beware, I don't think Mas and Pogacar is going to get anywhere close to a minute from in the last 9 kilometres here.
They are on that long descent down towards the Isnaha Reservoir. These are the final 10 kilometres of the 4th stage of 5 of the Ruta del Sol. My name's Jez Cox. I've got Brian Smith with me. We're watching what I coined a few moments ago as being like PlayStation cycling. Tadej Pogacar is playing with all 108 riders that started this morning, and he's just enjoying himself by the looks of it as well. That brilliant layback attack from the group where he swung off and went, right, now I'm going to go to the back, just sit here. One man was not just wise to it, but level with it. Enric Mas in attacking mode today. If those two go to the base of that final climb as they rise up onto the outcrop of Isnaha over the reservoir there, Brian, we could be treated to a really good finale, and I'd love to see them go head to head as they did on the cobbles of Alcalá la Real on stage 2. In the end, of course, Pogacar went clear of Enric Mas there and beat him by 4 seconds, but Mas certainly put in a good showing.
He did, but I think he's got a faster rider with him, and it's nice to see Mas that started the season very well. But you know, you had what, 5 riders from Bahrain victorious in that chasing group. You know, they have to chase now. Looks as if Carlos Rodriguez is going to ride as well, because you know he is in 4th place, Mas is in 5th. But you have to look at the race. And Pogacar is in front. I think they've just kind of played into the hands of Pogacar, but taking nothing against away the form that he's in at the moment. Pogacar is a demon descender. We've seen that already. But the thing is, here in this chasing group, Landa has been the one that hasn't been as confident going down these climbs, and he's the rider with the green jersey on, already opening up a gap. So this gap could open a little bit more in this descent to Mas, and you just saw the green jersey just, you know, feather those brakes a little bit and go backwards. But Mas and Pogacar, I think, will extend this lead out. I think it's going to be very difficult to catch them, but scratching ahead times for some of these teams and their tactics that have played out in this race.
The tightening of the shoes for Enric Mas as he prepares himself for his end game. They get down to the very bottom with only about 3k to go. Once they touch the edge of the reservoir for the first time, they have about 3 kilometres left before they actually then turn onto that rocky outcrop above the Isnaha Reservoir, and then the final climb starts. It is steep. It's tough. There's the reservoir down there, or the very edge of it that they're descending down to now, and it's a really testy descent, this. We have already seen Tadej Pogacar leave the edge of the road and just join the little kind of smooth edges of it beyond the white line. He's got to keep this one tight. As always, Brian, when I look at a descent like this, you can only be entirely thankful that it's a very dry day. Can you imagine?
This has got the feeling I've got when I used to cover the Milan-San Remo coming down to Poggio.
Oh, yeah.
You've always got your heart and your mouth get down these, but yeah, it's great to see that they're racing it. And I know we saw a little bit of it in the Tour de France last year, of Pogacar just using every opportunity to try and go on the attack, to try and take time back, and this is what we love to see. He doesn't have to do this. He doesn't have to do this. He's already won 2 stages. Wellens won yesterday's stage. He's in the leads. He doesn't have to do this, but he cannot put a good man down. He just loves to race his bike.
Brian, you just mentioned Milan-San Remo. I thought, hang on a minute, is Milan-San Remo on his programme for this year? It is.
Yes.
It is. So this is a nice little indicator. There might be others talking up the likes of the fast sprinty types, but we know just how fast he is from a leading group as well, Tadej Pogacar. This is a tricky one, isn't it? Right the way on the inside of the road and cuts across the apex, and absolutely milking, as you say, Brian, every centimetre of the road.
He could win from this group in the final climb. That's what you have to think about. He can win there. He doesn't have to take risks in the yellow jersey, because if he crashes, he could be losing the race. But we just love to see him race.
Yeah. Yes, there we were talking earlier about being restrained in certain teams where you might feel... I tell you, there's one great way of not being restrained is to be the best bike rider in the world. And
do you know what? That's what let him down last year in the Tour de France, is he has to be... When he was outnumbered, I think it was the Galibier in stage 11, where he just wanted to show everybody and ride at the front. And I think that day he learned that he has to be restrained a little bit. Okay, he's not being restrained today. He just wants to love riding his bike, and this is what he does best. But in some occasions, I think that's what we learned last year, that when Jumbo-Visma were outnumbered them, and he did that show up the Galibia, I think it was, that he didn't have to do that.
This is not yet enough of a gap if the timing is correct, and it's tricky to get the timing right on a twisty descent like this, but it's not yet enough of a gap to move Enric Mas up that much on general classification, because he's still, what is that? He's still nearly a minute down on Carlos Rodriguez in third, so he'll be trying to get up onto that podium, but he's got some way to go yet in terms of eating a gap in to knock Carlos Rodriguez down.
No, I don't think that'll be possible. He's just thinking of potentially trying to win the stage. I really don't think if the two of them came to the line that Pogačar would give anything away. He doesn't seem that sort of rider, but the gap is coming down very, very quickly now. I would think it would be the likes of maybe Mohoric chasing down, but yeah, it's just a really exciting final to today's stage.
4K to go, and this tricky, windy Olive Grove descent continues as they make their way down to the Isnaha Reservoir, the biggest reservoir in Andalusia, and it is a whacking great one with beautiful beaches along the edge of it, shaded by the olive groves around the edges. And there's no doubt about it, I think at the moment, that the better descender in here is Tadej Pogačar. Enric Mas is just looking a little bit rigid in and out of these corners as well, but having to sprint so hard to get back onto the back wheel.
Yeah,
here we go.
Mohoric.
They've got company. Where on earth has he come from? It's not a great surprise, though. Matej Mohoric has crossed that gap like a bullet. Well, there's a new one to throw into the mix.
Yeah, they don't have a lot. The TV motorbike was getting in the way a little bit and kind of helped Landa not enjoying this one bit. But when we hit this final climb up to the finish, Mohoric is the wrong person to be here. So, I don't think he had to do that. It's probably better for him to try and kind of look after Landa more than anything. But he's another rider that just loves the race.
Maybe the radio signal
Something
went
about
up to
Slovenians.
No, maybe it was about Milan Sanremo. Maybe it was us talking about MSR. Word got through to them that we were picking out Tadej Pogačar as a potential. Oh no, not where we want that. That's Carlos Rodriguez who's gone down. He's back on. He's in the wrong gear though, of course, because they were ripping into that corner. He could do with a push on his backside, but no one's given him one. He's got no teammates there either, of course. Rodriguez just getting onto the back wheel of Thiago Grimet. Wow, big moment avoided there. He'll get a shot of adrenaline from this, Rodriguez. It might be actually just what he needs at this stage of the race. A little pick-me-up.
Well, there's two pick-me-ups before the finishing line. There's this one here, and it just goes down a little bit and then up towards the finish.
Oh, I'm sure at some point we'll see a slow-mo of that if we did catch it. Lucky.
Mohoric now going backwards there.
That was a big dig by him, not just to get on, but then try and contribute. I think Jack Hager's just sat up as well. Mikel Landa last of those to go in the green jersey to try and get across. Andreas Kron on the back wheel of the green jersey, though, and Tadej Pogačar has a little look back. As Brian Smith has said, he doesn't need to be clear of this group to win today because we know he is the fastest uphill. He's proved it already in this race on every single stage. He won the uphill bunch sprint yesterday, and he won the first two stages, both uphill. Once again, we're finishing uphill today, and Mikel Landa is closing, or trying to close the last bit of the gap. Andreas Kron is the Lotto Destiny rider who's trying to hang on. Lorenzo Fortunato, sorry, it's not Lorenzo Fortunato, is it? It's Lorenzo Rota who is trying to go across to them as well. These are the remnants of that 17 rider group. There's not that many of them left. Kron has made it onto the back wheel of Landa. Right, what does Landa do now?
Oh, he's hanging on, isn't he? I'm just looking at Andreas Kron. He's got a good kick, and potentially he's, he could be fighting it out for the victory here. That's all he's thinking about, just staying in here. These are the three kind of GC riders. Mas started the day in 5th place, but 147 down. Landa got himself there, so he's firmly on the podium. Another rider that can finish well, Lorenzo Rota for Intermarché, but you still have to think that Pogačar is in the driving seat here. Yeah. But I don't think Landa will push on here because, where is Buitrago? Because Buitrago is rider started the day up there in the top 3.
So Lorenzo Rota has made it back in there, the Intermarché Circus 1T rider. He pushes a big gear, and at times I think he can look more ragged and tired than he actually is, Rota. He's on the back wheel of Andreas Kron, and Mikel Landa needs to be careful not to get distance on this last dip, because this dip leads into the final climb. This is it, really. 1,500 metres to go. They meet the bottom of this little descent here and immediately kick up in front of them. This is the finale, effectively, and it's looking like we're going to play it out with these 5 riders. There's hardly anyone out there that would now bet against yet another Tadej Pogačar victory, but let's see. Final kilometre. Tadej Pogačar in the yellow jersey sits second wheel. Enric Mas is determined to keep pressing at the front, or at least have clear road in front of him through this technical run-in. The crowd out in Isnaha to watch them descend, and now they start the ascent. This is where it starts to bite as well. It's really steep up here. Enric Mas is going for this, Brian, and he's really opened up a little bit of a gap on Pogačar, but he's still looking over his shoulder. He knows where he's going to be coming from. Yeah, it's a good try, an excellent try, and you know, putting pressure on Pogačar, but Pogačar is there. He's tracking them, and you know, you need to think that you know, as soon as he gets his breath back there, Pogačar, he is the favourite for this stage, blowing away everybody else. In this stage, Andreas Kron is gone completely. Good to see him up there at the sharp end, but yeah, steep incline here up towards the finish now. It levels a little bit. This is the steepest part, and Pogačar looking for yet another stage win. A little bump of wheels there as he came up the inside of Enric Mas. Enric Mas trying to find the smooth strip as they did the other day, but you sense there's just a moment until Tadej Pogačar opens up. As they went into that little bit there, he actually wiped his nose. Few athletes in the world at this level would have the wherewithal to wipe their nose, maybe thinking about that final finish line photo. It's really steep in the streets here of Isnaha. They're right out on the reservoir right now. Not that you'd know it from the buildings around them. Watch the face of Tadej Pogačar. Is he waiting? What's he got left, and when's he going to do it? Enric Mas has lifted it again. This is a great battle from the Spaniard. They're into the barriers, but you sense he's just waiting. What has Pogačar got left? He's going. The yellow jersey's going, and what has Enric Mas got left to hang on to that back wheel? He is hanging on. Is there one more dig? Is there one more dig in the body of Enric Mas? It doesn't look like it. Tadej Pogačar's kicking clear. He's going to get his 3rd stage win, and the smile is starting to grow from the man who takes 3 stages of this year's Ruta del Sol, and he wants 3 Tours de France. Is this the year he does it? So many subliminal and clear messages being sent out from Andalucia, and it's Tadej Pogačar once again at the top of the podium. Santi Buitrago, defending his 2nd place on general classification, comes in ahead of Nick Schultz. And Andreas Kron surviving to the line. Well, I think that was the hardest one. We've had some tough finishes, but that did look as if, you know, Pogačar had to dig a little bit deeper in that climb, and testament to Mas. Mas really kind of took it to him, and, you know, really good effort. I think it's going to be really close between 2nd and 3rd. Okay, the same team, Landa. But yeah, this is nice, and hats off Mas. He really took it to Pogačar there, but I think it's going to be closer. It's going to be 2nd and 3rd between Buitrago and Landa, because Landa put a little bit of time into Buitrago's teammate. So, but yeah, again, 2nd and 3rd in the general classification, but Mas really was the, you know, one of the men of the day, working with Pogačar. But Pogačar just wants to win. He wants to win everything, and you know, unfortunately for everybody else, he's got the form to be able to deliver it. That sort of 5 minutes or so, Brian, on the Fuentes de Cesna was one of my favourite bits of racing I've watched in some time. I know it's very early season, but it was just unbridled fun on a bike. I mean, you've got to be strong enough and good enough to do that, but it was just great to watch. Yeah, I mean, it's not, but it's not even like
the other riders.
I know. Well, I can imagine some fans watching thinking, no, it's a bit disrespectful to the others. I don't know. I don't think that's true at all. I think it was just, he knows he's got it in his locker. And I mean, once again today, he was poked, wasn't he? I use that poking the bear analogy, but he was poked, and he almost couldn't help but go, right, I'm going to have this. This is some of the animators of the day coming in. Jefferson Cepeda, Lorenzo Fortunato, and Ruben Guerrero looking like he's really struggled towards the end there as well. And we've seen Pavel Sivakov there coming in already. Sivakov, a great animator of the day. He looked really good as we came live on air. You can see that Fortunato's been down today as well, blood on his knee. So there's all sorts of skirmishes that have happened out there in, thankfully, the Andalusian sunshine today. that weren't related to yesterday's extreme winds that met the event. If you haven't seen yesterday's stage, watch it back. It was a great battle between these two, Brian, in the end, wasn't it? And Mas was fantastic.
Yeah, if they stayed away in this situation, potentially in the past, maybe a little bit old school, you'd maybe have kind of gifted the stage. You've already won two, got the yellow jersey, but not in this day and age. There's no gifts. The thing is, you know, when your team have ridden all day, you want to reward them, and this is a way of rewarding them. So the day of the gifts, unfortunately, are gone these days. Unfortunately for Mas, he doesn't get that stage win for Movistar.
Well, UAE Team Emirates have won every... And it also runs alongside the race which started on Friday. That's the Tour des Alpes Maritimes, and that's Jose Bin and Magnus Backstedt bringing you that race too. You can catch them all here at the home of cycling. There is the stage result confirmed for you. Pogacar gets his third stage win ahead of Enric Mas once again, as it was on stage 2. Lorenzo Rota coming in for third there. Great ride by the man who I thought he was looking a little bit more ragged, but he did well there for that third place. Mikel Landa in the green jersey in fourth. Santi Buitrago, second place on GC in fifth. Nick Schultz, the Aussie, good ride by him today, the Israel Premier Tech Pro.